Hi, everybody. We are on our very final week of CHCMHS001, which is work with people with mental health issues. So this is week 3, and week 1, we covered just the introduction to this. Week 2, we spent more time on the task 2, which is the research project, and I'll cover a little bit about what we need to have in there. And then this is our final week, as in week 3. And week 3 is usually your practitioner skills, which we call role plays. Our class tonight are sitting in the breakout room, and I thought I'd take this opportunity to record this, just be able to do a capsule for you. But there is a full pre-recorded unit of the whole content. These are the summary slides that I wanted to share with you, and these will come out to you by our Learner Support Officer team. So to begin tonight, I would like to do our acknowledgement to country. In the spirit of reconciliation, Hayter Institute of Education acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of this nation and the traditional custodians of the land on which we work, live and study. We express our gratitude for the sharing of this land, our sorrow for the personal, spiritual and cultural costs of that sharing, and hope that we may move forward together in harmony and in the spirit of healing. We pay our respects to all First Nation people and acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. We sit on lands that have never been ceded. I come to you from Tarrabalang Bunda, and I would like to extend this acknowledgement out to any of our enrolled learners who are part of our Hayter learner community as well. So a little bit of housekeeping. Of course, we're a camera on college, but we're also an adult learning class. And if for some reason you cannot have your camera on, I really appreciate that you respectfully just drop that into chat and let me know so that I know that you're okay. Microphones on mute when everyone else is discussing, simply because it is so sensitive. It can pick up a lot of background noise, and sometimes we do want to record. We're going to have a break. Usually we try and do that at 7 p.m. We'll probably be 10 minutes late doing that because I want to do a summary, then I want to do a break, and then I want to actually offer a role play to one of our learners who is ready in week 3, ready to do one of the actual role plays live and be assessed and use class for that purpose. If you would like to speak, I ask if you can use the icon at the bottom of your page, put your hand up. But you guys are really great. So you wait and we merge into that space. We don't put our hands up when we're face to face. But if it's a large class, then sometimes if you don't put your hand up, nobody else knows if someone else is wanting to share or have a question. We have respectful relationships. When we come into the workplace, we are at work. This is your workshop, and we are here to do that learning. We work as colleagues in that space, what that would be like, but we also have other support outside of our classes, which can often be one-on-one. It can be where you're working with a trainer or an assessor. There's several of us that do that work. You have 1 hour every month if you can book in with your with a trainer and assessor. I often work with people 30 minutes fortnightly. And if they have a reasonable adjustment or there's something else that they need. But it could be 30 minutes once a fortnight. It could be one session we have, let's plan and prep for the role play. And the other one might be, let's make that role play happen and can I assist you in that, just to get you on your feet. And then this class in particular is very strong in their own collaboration. So you will be invited into their groups, but Hayter have a group called Discord, and people go looking for the unit and other people to play client, even if they've already done it. People from my diploma Monday class and my diploma on Thursday, both youth work diploma and community services diploma, will jump into that space because they know the more they do, the better their practitioner skills are, and they want to have that higher level to do casework as well. And the only way to do that is try and get about 100 role plays under your belt. Just keep doing them until it flows for you and it becomes natural. But when we first start, cameras can be kind of daunting, and I appreciate that. So if you are collaborating and working together, that will help you feel more comfortable. No smoking or vaping on camera. If you need to do that, then by all means turn your camera off. I want to let you know that we sometimes have content that is triggering for some people. So we all have a different worldview and a different lens, different lived experience. What may seem a flow of a conversation could actually be a re-injured point for another person. So please be kind to yourself. Take those breaks away. I like 20 minutes in and 5 minutes of let's just chill. And then I like another 20 minutes in, and we keep going that way. Our classes, our live classes, we try and power everything in where our peak is at, where we'll mix it up between knowledge, content, practitioner skills, always in every week, every class. And then, of course, from there, at 8 p.m, depending on where you're all up to, I open that last hour up live class where people can really just get that support they need while they've got a trainer in real time. And it can be about any unit, any particular thing that you're interested in. If you have booked ahead, sometimes that final hour can be another role play with a different unit, as long as you schedule that in ahead of time, and we can do that. Sometimes we can improvise that. If you feel ready and there's a few of you, I will definitely try and assist. So our summary for sessions 2 and 3 is mental health context in Australia. What does that mean? What is our background? So it was about the research report. We spoke about the values and principles, how they've changed in the sector, empowering our patients. That means giving them agency. What's the social justice, where our policies, procedures, the community, public funding around all the essential services. What's an holistic approach around self-care for our client and also for you as a worker, and then respectful relationships with ourselves and others. And then what is self-recovery, helping our clients drive that. And what model are you going to use as a worker? Which one do you feel comfortable with? Are you going to use CBT, cognitive behavior therapy? Are you going to use in your intentional interviewing? Are you going to use your social emotional well-being? Are you going to apply the CHIME model? Are you going to apply the well-being wheel, the mental health well-being wheel? What tools are you working with here? I want to know more than just follow the role play instructions. What kind of a youth worker are you going to be? What have you looked at in your research in task 2? Part of that would have been that you went in and you had a look at what are some of the resources, what is accepted as evidence-based practice in that space, and bring that into task 3. So with every assessment, task 1 rolls into task 2, rolls into task 3. You're getting your key learnings, your underpinning knowledge, and then you apply that in your skills component. So all of those come into it. We'll do a warm-up activity when everyone comes back from their break. So health promotion and prevention, the purpose behind the Task 2 project and research is about promoting mental health. Everyone has a mental health, and it is linear, which means it isn't up or down. It can often be ebb and flow, and it could be this morning I felt really great, the afternoon I lagged. It could be where it is a clinical diagnosis, for a non-clinical thing, just currently I'm not coping at the moment. And then we look at, say, one tool could be a wellbeing wheel. How is your sleep pattern? That's our holistic approach around that. So within our community, we have other tools as well. We use mental health first aid. We work with counselling, non-clinical. We work with accidental counsellor. If you're needing that resource, please reach out to me as your trainer and I'll share that with you if I haven't already. It's a great little 3-hour workbook. It's self-paced. And then what is it really like for young people today when it comes to mental health and feelings compared to when you were 10 years of age? What's different now? How do people talk about your feelings if you were upset? Did you share those feelings as a 10-year-old? Our target group, early intervention, is from 9 years of age now, which means that a young person 9 years of age can be held in detention and incarcerated. 10 can be charged. In some places like Queensland, there are 400 that are about to be strapped on with an ankle monitor. Young people who are always before the courts and not able to re-engage back into the community, and lots of inappropriate, unacceptable social behaviours. So therefore, the general public need to be protected from that, and the young people, there's always trauma at the base of that. So those young people need to have a restart. To do that, they need to be working with youth workers who will be framing that, but there will be different service models we work to. So if you work in that correctional centre, you've got a specific guideline that you must work to. If you work in the community sector, you will have a model or a service model or a performance framework that you work to. Depends on the work you do and the organisation's funding guidelines. We also have the legal and the ethical conditions we work to. And that applies over to mental health as well. They are psychosocial support. So right now, everyone is discussing in a breakout room 3 particular clients. So I'll pause here until everybody comes back and we look forward to them doing that. And this is going to be the role play. Part of the content Virginia is going to use as her evidence, and I'm going to follow up with an evidence document for Virginia as well. So I'm going off camera and over to you. Zainab, could you turn your camera off, please?
Hi, my name is Virginia Bevilacqua, and I'm doing a role play working with people with mental health issues. I have Diane with me, which she will play Ariana. Ariana is she's got PTSD, and I'm just going to visit her at home at the moment. With Ariana, just a little bit of feedback is she has a traumatic experience with flood, and she lost her 2 dogs. And Ariana experience that every time it's raining, she's not feeling herself. So I'm knocking the door. Hi, Ariana, it's me, Hannah. Can I come in?
Come in.
Oh my God, what's going on, darling? You okay?
It's the rain, Virginia. I keep thinking that I hear my girls barking, my Luna and my Jazzy, and I can't get to them, and I think that it's them drowning in the water again.
Oh my Lord. Yeah, I'm so sorry you feel this way, Ariana. I really relate how you feel. I do myself have a dog, and I know how painful is the loss, and I'm really sorry you feel this way. I can only tell you that it will get easier. Trust me when I can
It's
tell
the
you.
rain, and it just makes me feel like I need them back, and I can't have my house back, and I lost all my things.
I know you did. I know you
They're
did,
so
Diane.
far away.
But it's very important at the moment that you really look after yourself, and
Trying.
what can I do? What can I do to make you feel, you know, safe and you don't need to rush anything, you gotta take your time, yes,
I'm
but it's
trying. I'm
you know
trying to look after myself, but it's hard. I mean, I can't even sometimes get out of bed, and and sometimes I just can't get out of bed, and I can't do anything, and I can't go in the bathroom. It's too scary.
And I know you feel this way. It's very important at the moment that you feel safe and you feel clean. And it's important to take care of your hygiene today. And what tell me, what can I do to help you to feel that way?
Well,
You-
I haven't showered for a few days, and I just can't get in there.
Okay,
If
okay,
I
that's
go in
fine.
the shower, I'll drown. I'm sure I'll drown.
You are very safe in Ariana. You're very safe. You're in your home place at the moment. Okay. And you know what? You don't need to have a shower. Okay. There's other things that we can do. Do you want me to get a wet face wash? That you think that will help?
Well, maybe it might help if there's no running water, and the sound of the water sometimes makes me feel like it's
Okay.
raining.
All right. Well, what about if we get some wet face washes, like that you think that will be better?
That that could
Yeah.
help. That could help.
Okay. Do you think you have some at home?
I don't think so. I
Okay,
don't
well,
think
I got a new packet in my bag. I'm happy to give it to you. And then what we do, we put some in on the shopping list. So next time you go out, you can get some. So, that's no water. Don't have to, you don't have to hear, the running water. So that help you to, because you deserve to feel comfortable, yeah. And
Thank you. Yes,
so that way you feel a little bit more refreshed, yeah.
thank you. Thanks for understanding.
Of course, I'm here for, I'm here to support you and to help you in any way I can. And, you need to take your time. You will have a good day, you have a bad day, but you will get through this. Okay? You will get
But,
through. It
yeah,
will get easier and easier.
maybe tomorrow I could have try again, and have a shower tomorrow.
That's fantastic. It's fantastic. Is there anything I can help you with? Even if to stay in your bedroom as you have in your shower, just to have your support there, I'm always there for you.
Okay, thanks, Monica. Thank
Okay,
you.
no worries. Okay, so I'll give you the wet wise, and I'll see you next time. Okay.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right. Bye
thank
bye, Ariana. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
So at the end of your role play, what I would like you to do is, Jane, I want you to share what it felt like sitting in the chair with Virginia working with you. Tell me from the client's perspective, what did that feel like, and what did she do for you to help you in that state?
She remained calm. So I felt out of control, obviously, when you're upset and emotional, and I've got dogs, and they're sitting right here with me, and one of them is called Luna. So it was quite, quite relatable in that sort of
Yeah,
perspective.
sure.
Um, and it, you do get caught up in the emotions of that. And Virginia just used a calm voice. She didn't get emotional, or she didn't raise her voice. She didn't tell me that I was silly or shouldn't be feeling that way. She validated how I was feeling, and that it was okay to be taking the time to just do one step at a time. So
Great.
it did sort of help,
Great.
just
And
calm.
the safety was
Mhm.
definitely reinforced. I'll give you some feedback in a moment. Virginia, tell me how you think you went.
Um, I think I was, like she said, very calm, and Funny thing is, I done everything, the other two with my husband, and I couldn't do this one here because we do have two dogs, and so it got very emotional, and I think it got me into that scenario. It got me to the state that I said, I know how she feels. I do have dogs, and I know how, how would I feel devastated. So I actually felt Ariana pain.
Mm. And I think it's important when we were working together before this was we can be triggered. So our self-care, when we hear a story, and on a good day, we're resilient. On a day where we're fatigued or we're rushing or we've got our own things going on around us, that story a client shares may not land as softly as it would normally. So we can be mindful. It's like very relatable.
Yeah.
When we share something about ourselves, we still do that in a safe and healthy way for ourselves, but it can be helpful for your client to sometimes hear it, which rarely do I share my own stuff. But tonight I wanted to bring that in there because it's another layer over that for you as well. And we get to choose how deep we go with what we share as well, which I think is very important. You can just do the surface stuff and work on that strength based around it, coming through something on the other side. What we want to be able to do with our client is engage and empathize, but not see our client as a victim, but aware and us as their rescuer. The calm approach that you had. So my feedback for you is this. I wanted to know if you were acknowledging her heightened state around her mental health, which you did. I want to acknowledge that you used strength-based practices. You used recovery-orientated practice in its true essence. You didn't refer to any external mental health supports because her state of mind was heightened. That would not be the time to detach. That is the time to keep the connection going. So I liked that together you came up and you had wipes in your bag. That was a beautiful touch. And I was waiting for the wipes because there's no sound of running water. I thought that was excellent. But I did sense that if you were able to get beyond this stage and another visit, that you might start to talk about some of those things as she is ready. But today was not that day, and you read that well. You did not rush. I observed your trauma-informed care approach, and you acted compassionately. There was still a good, healthy professional boundary there. You used your active listening. You had emotional intelligence, strength-based communication, non-judgmental. You're identifying the risks, not so much the suicidality, but there was despair in there, and you met that the way I needed you to. And you looked at some options and you explored them together and you reached an agreement collaboratively. And I needed you to reflect on your own practice and your own emotional response. So you're there, and well done.
Thank you. Thank you, Diane. You done well.
Yeah, she
You're
did.
welcome, well
I
done.
know you done really well.
Yeah, that's amazing. So let's get some
Good on
peer
you,
review.
Virginia.
Thank you.
Would everyone like to come back on camera and just give both Diana and Virginia some feedback? Who would like to add their peer review over this? What did you think went well? What do you think you would do differently? Not them, they did theirs, past flying colours, that's great. Because I'm looking in my observation for something different to the scenario. The story changes, your micro skills never do. So you could have 5 different people, 5 different stories. You will still use that same compassionate inquiry, unconditional positive regard. Regardless, however we work with someone, the story is theirs. Our role is to be consistent so that we build trust. and they can count on us in that space. So who would like to give some peer review feedback? We are recording, be nice.
I think they both did extremely well.
Yeah, what did you like about it?
How they bounced off each other, like
Oh,
it
yeah.
just flowed. It was really
Yes.
that's going to help me when I do mine.
Yeah, great. There wasn't a script inside either, was there?
No, that was yeah.
Yeah, that was good. That was
Very
good.
good.
Yeah, it felt authentic.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I
I
liked
thought that was-
how they both like kept the story going.
Mm,
Yeah, didn't sort of, go off the beaten track this way or off the beaten track that way. They just
yeah,
kept it flowing. It was
yeah,
great.
yeah, great. Anybody else? Would it be different to how you would have approached it? Because I'm going to be assessing lots of Arianas, lots of Jacintas, and lots of Tony. I've made him a Broncos rising star, by the way, to keep it authentic for me. But yeah, look, I think
Bloody Broncos.
yeah.
Go the
So
Storm.
I think that was it was excellent. I could believe that. And I think that's what an authentic role play is. So so well done, everybody. Look, we are still recording, but peer review is important if we're going to be doing role plays live. So I'll pause for you just here. We're recording. All right, let me unpack Jacinta for you. With Jacinta as a worker, I would be working very similar to how Virginia was working. And it would be my connection first, establish rapport. We don't know each other. I am comfortable with someone who comes from a different culture. And I'm also really comfortable with someone who's Muslim. My daughter has married a Turkish boy, and she reverted. So I'm familiar with the diversity around that. I'm familiar with some other things as well around the modesty. I would be mindful, knowing that if I was a male youth worker, I would not be able to work with Jacinta alone. There would need to be another person there as well. So we need to think, first of all, we're told these things in our scenario for a reason. What variation would you make? What considerations would you do differently to help that person feel comfortable before you even start working with them? What can I do differently here? And if it's a home visit, it would be appropriate that maybe perhaps Jacinta's mother is there, but you would also want the privacy. So I might do a meet and greet in my home visit, but then I would say I started with that, but I actually wanted to have Jacinta come to first access in our office, and I would arrange that separately. I probably would be respecting her ability to speak freely about things if she felt her family didn't quite understand, as a sign of respect. Rabbit.
Yeah, I was gone for a minute. I lost my internet, so I'm back again, and I noticed we're on to Jacinta. So yeah,
You're in Jacinta's room?
yeah.
Brilliant. So would you like to unpack that? I've set the scene.
Yeah.
Tell me what you wanted to bring out about Jacinta.
Well, some of the things that we identified straight away is that here we've got a young girl that she's lost her independence, she's lost her self-esteem, she's embarrassed, she's ashamed, she's feeling a failure. She's expressed that she's emotionally drained, she's tired, depressed, she's lost her self-confidence, she's having trouble getting out of the bed. She's become isolated from her friends or the people that she was living with. And she lacks a social platform. She's got pressures coming from her family about what she should do. So there's a few things that we looked at. Firstly, the thing about the embarrassed shame and a failure was to just reassure her that that's not the case, and actually even just give us some figures on what happens. That encourage you to look at her talents and use them in another area. Promote association with women, Muslim women's groups. Ask her what she wants and expects from our meetings, and provide her just somewhere to talk about her issues. As you said, as a male, I wouldn't be doing that.
No.
I would be looking at getting assistance from one of my female co-workers. Help create a scenario where she can develop her own well-being and self-esteem and stigma, and work on that prior to looking at maybe the next step of addressing how does she talk to her parents, how can she communicate with the parents about what pressure they're putting on her, with staying respectful, looking at how to assist her in creating a resume, and possibly encourage her to look at some form of work. There's promote possibly social interaction with peers. Look at what social support groups there are. What else? I've got stuff written here everywhere and I can't read it. Yeah, but basically be there to first of all to demyth the fact that she's thinking she's a failure, but depression. She's emotionally drained, tired, depressed. She's lost self-confidence. So look at how to address that depression. Would be another factor.
Yeah. On the flip side, we don't have depression without anxiety. Depression lives in the past. Anxiety is about the future. So when we are working with Jacinta, we're looking at the depression and the anxiety. When we want to work with her, we need to connect with hope and healing. So we sometimes have to take our clients back to a time when things were good, to reconnect them with that feeling of hope, and then move into that space, like you say, that community connection. The Muslim Young Women's Group, she seems to know a little bit about that, encouraging her what would be good about reconnecting with people around your own age and your own faith. Perhaps talking a little more about that, getting her connected with, oh, what would be good about that for you? What do you miss about mixing with people as well? Just to get her reconnected with a time where she felt really good. Sometimes we do have to go back to the past to be able to get to the future. So we need to have a look at what happened. We know it's about COVID. We know she's got business, her first business venture, but the skills are still there. And then part of the hope and healing with Jacinta, I'd be exploring, got you into the idea of having your own business. You studied fine arts. When you started uni, what was your why? What did you think you were going to do with that, and what changed for you? Well, you know, I used to make jewelry and I showed them around the uni. In role play land, it's whatever you and your person that plays Jacinta decide to take it there. But if she liked the connection in university where there was a mentor program, perhaps because she's on Centrelink and it says that, she may be eligible for the new enterprise incentive scheme where she can go and do a certificate 4 in small business and mix in a small business hub where they have people come in and they teach about business and marketing, and she could take her business online and there'd be other people to show her how to do that. She's in that state, that depressed state of helpless, hopeless, and alone, which places her at high risk suicide. Now, all three things, when we're triaging, it is helpless, hopeless, and alone. Now, while she's got a youth worker, she's not alone. But we are only an hour, maybe once a week. So we need to get her connected where people are looking forward to her turning up. Even the markets was a little community in itself. Hello, how are you? Just familiar faces. So the helpless, hopeless, and alone is how we triage mental health. So the hopeless, we take them back to a hope space, somewhere where it has been good, and we move them back into the future. And the helplessness around it is the strength base as well. So Virginia was working with someone also in the helpless, hopeless, and alone, but Virginia was present, and Diana gave the feedback. You know, I felt I was distressed, and she connected and related with that as well, and found herself a little immersed in the role play, because when we're listening to someone, it's like, how would I feel about that? And I've got 2 dogs, and so we're going through that ourselves, that self-care space. We need to not be too bright and positive, and lots of soothing kind of language. But we have to consider Jacinta's cultural practices. She's living home with her family. She is respectful. We have to see Jacinta as an individual. What do we need? How can we set the scene for her to feel like she's walked through the right door and we would be the right person? So it's the same with Tony. Tony might want to talk to a male youth worker. We can't get attached to whether they like us or they don't like us. We just may not be the best person for them. And if we want the best for our clients, we will put the correct resource around them. So when we do that intake with them, it's like, if ever there's any time where you feel you know, that you're not happy with how I'm progressing, or you don't feel comfortable, you can change your youth worker. We are all here. So this is about you now through the lens of First Access, the organisation that you work for. Rather than see ourselves isolated in that space, we have our peers that we can rely on. We are not helpless, hopeless, and alone in that space as well. We have to make sure, because this stuff sneaks up on us. Every story leaves an imprint on us, and we have emotional bank accounts. So, you know, we do positive things for people, it builds that emotional bank account. If someone else is needing something from you, you can go, yeah, you've made plenty of deposits, you can make a withdrawal. I'll cut you some slack today. That is a little bit out of character for you. So we don't have to hyper focus on every single thing. That's how we find the balance. With Jacinta, there's a pre-filled support plan, and it talks about perhaps communicating with her family. You can even do some role plays because you love them so much. You could say, listen, if you feel uncomfortable, when I was doing my studies, we used to practice these things till we did feel comfortable. I could be you, and you could be mum. How would that be? And we could try that. And it feels awkward and weird and uncomfortable, like it does for you, but you can empathize with that. What would you say if mum was here right now? And we would use our open-ended questions, our who, what, how, when, where, and why. That is how you will get the other person speaking. That's how you will get flow, and it'll happen naturally, because Virginia, the more you do, the better you get. So now role plays, you're how you were when you first started is different to how you are now as you're progressing through your role plays. You're building that toolkit. I know what to do. I've read, I've prepared, I'm coming in. I think I've got a handle around Ariana. I've got wet wipes in my bag. I'm ready for this in case, you know, we're going to take baby steps, what she can do. With Jacinta, it's the same. You may not be ready to talk to your family, but you may like to talk to a counsellor where you could speak freely. That is not your role. You are not the counsellor. You're her youth worker. So you make sure that all those things around her, like you're the concierge, you're the tour guide, you're her support worker, you're her advocate, you walk beside her while she's going through this and you give her information so she can have informed decision making, dignity and respect in that space, build on that resilience where it becomes something that she looks forward to coming and working with you because there's no judgment and it feels safe and you're calm. And sometimes your clients will just come in and sit and breathe with you, or they may come in really heightened and just say, I've had a terrible morning. So let's just sit for a while. Don't rush into that space. Even if it is a 15-minute role play, I can tell you that you can make a role play feel like it was your full 45-minute session. So we usually get an hour with our clients or a 1 hourly appointments. It's 45 minutes with them and it's 15 minutes to write the file notes. And part of that will be your consent, your referral form. Ariana, before you go, I know last time I was here, we talked about maybe doing some volunteer work at the RSPCA and connecting like that. When you're ready, not yet, but with your consent, I'd be happy to look into that. Now, that doesn't require a referral form, but you still need to get her consent to make some inquiries on her behalf. It could be a year before Ariana's ready for anything like that. But we still bring it in because it's what is Ariana's own goals. With Jacinta, it would be reconnecting with other young women of her own faith. Who am I and where do I fit in? As a young person, she could fit in there. And then finding out that they're on a Wednesday in the afternoon and they do certain things, that's information we can share. Okay, so room 2. Who had Tony, the Broncos rising star?
We did. Tony, do you want to talk or do you want me to do it?
No,
right.
you go ahead, darling. Yep.
Are you sure, Tony?
I mean, you know I'll have your back, you know.
All right. All right. So our group found it a bit tricky to get our heads around what was entailed in Tony's role play. So we were unsure of who we were supposed to be emailing. There were just a lot of questions surrounding that. Yeah, so we're unsure on. It didn't seem as straightforward as what the other 2 role plays seemed.
Okay, so perhaps that is around. Tony already does have a physiotherapist.
Yeah.
Has specialists in that space, speech therapists and that as well. What do you think, based on Tony's story, is the thing that has, like, you walk into the house and everything's in disarray?
Yeah.
He's got an acquired brain injury, which may have a very good outcome and focus in him being able to heal. But in the meantime, he's 19 and his whole identity was around that. And who is he without that? That's really, who am I and where do I fit in? If we bring it
So one of our questions was because, like, are we, or if we're in that situation, are we then allowed to, get a football out and handball or whatever, or what are the restrictions surrounding that?
Definitely. Let's look at it all, though. He hasn't showered.
Yep.
With Ariana, you turn up and she's on her bed curled up in a ball.
Yeah.
But with Tony, he's distressed and he's you know, he's stuttering, even though he has had some very good speech therapy
Speech
and that's been
therapist.
going well. But he hasn't had a shower. The dishes aren't washed up. The place is in complete disarray. What's the most helpful thing right now could be, listen, Tony, how about, buddy, you jump in the shower. I'm going to wash up the dishes and do a quick tidy up for you.
Yeah.
And when you get out, let's have a cuppa and sit outside. That's a good move for Tony.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be there picking up Tony to go and get your groceries or his
Yeah.
groceries. And he's just not in that state of mind. So then that could send you off to maybe looking at a solution focus where, you know what, we can even order online, you know, we could
Yeah,
do
get it delivered.
yeah. And let's go for a 30-minute walk and there's a park down there. Do you feel like throwing the ball around?
Yeah.
I like where you're headed with that, out in the open, getting out, because his home has become his prison.
Yeah,
And he's
absolutely.
staying in there and he's isolating himself because he feels safe and protected and he doesn't have anybody look at him, stare
Yeah.
at him, or remember who he was, because he is not that person anymore. He doesn't know who he is at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So we just didn't know
Yeah.
what his restrictions were surrounding his acquired brain injury.
Yes. Well, that's clinical. Nobody knows but his clinicians. When we're a youth worker, we don't need to have that part of the story. We present
No.
social, emotional well-being. Hey, buddy, you're looking like you're having a really hard time.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Okay.
Listen,
used
why don't you
to,
jump in the shower? Tony, was that you? Do you want to jump in?
Yeah. When I was doing individual support, I had a 16-year-old young sir, who was a little the same. You know, the room was a tripe shop and showers and things just didn't exist. So my thing was I ended up finding out, sort of sourcing around and asking questions and things about music. And the way I used to get him into the shower was that we'd say, what was one of the songs? Tiffany, You Think You're Alone Now, you know, and we'd play that and he'd sort of get the beat and he would pop in the
Great.
shower and, you know, scrub himself up and
Yeah.
things like that. So that's what we did, was just find another song and another song, and that was when we played it, when it was shower time. So
Love it, Tony.
mm,
Love that. I've heard some people use with this Tony, because he's having trouble with clarity, his capacity, and that could pass because of his injury. How about I put a chart and I laminate it, and this is what you do at 7 in the morning. This is what you do at 8 in the morning. This is what you do at 9. And that helps him collect his thoughts, because he
they're
has
not just all over the place.
That's right, yeah. And then when it all gets too much, he becomes overwhelmed and he can't move. He has that paralysis in that space. It's all too much. Oh, where am I? Helpless, hopeless, and alone. So, and he's not been out in the sun. He was body active, very physical. He's detached from his community. Who am I and where do I fit in? Would he do a visit with his old club? Could we be part of that link and building that bridge? With Ariana, we may explore moving her, even though she was highly distressed. It would be a future thing. You could put those thoughts in your notes around her and just say, things I would like to do in the future, but right now we need to be able to, how can we do the hygiene? So that was the priority of need in Virginia's one. That's exactly where I would have stayed to. If a client presents like that, what's the priority of need? Same with Jacinta, it would be connection, and she is seeing a GP, and I would start to talk to her about counselling. Has she ever in the past, has it gone well? And if not, what would she be looking for in a counsellor? So that she's part of that decision-making process as well. So you have counsellors in First Access. when you go to the website and the dashboard. I know most of you as students will jump in and you go for the templates and the policies and procedures, and you go do a deep dive straight in there. But if you look at the website, it actually tells you all the services that they provide, all the programs that they have. Look at it through Jacinta's eyes. If you're shopping around for a support agency to go to, you sit inside that as a worker, but there's a lot of other workers at First Access, and each of your role plays, it says you're either Juka or you're Harry or you're Monica or you're Bella, so you're part of that community, that learner, that worker community, your learner simulated employer. So with Tony, it would be maybe reconnecting with the club, talking to them about that. Maybe you could talk to them if Tony was okay. What about if I find out, if we could do a bit of a visit? Have you been catching up with any of your mates from there? Oh, they don't want to talk to me, I'm a moron now. Or, whatever it is that Tony's thinking of himself at the moment. But what we can get to that point where we're working with our client and go, well, where's your evidence to support that? How do you know what that would be like? Were they good people when you were playing? Yeah, they're all really good. And do they stop being good? We have to challenge that distorted thinking sometimes. And if you've got a relationship with them, if you've established rapport, engagement, and some trust, you can challenge that in a way, but it's a prompt rather than confront. There are times where you may confront them, especially if you're doing suicide intervention work. It really is, a moment where you are working really, really hard to keep them connected here rather than go over to the waterfall that's drawing them over the edge. So our role is to help them ride that wave and stay on top of that and try and land softly and shake it off and build that resilience, because everyone has a mental health and everybody gets stuck. We don't stay stuck. Someone could be clinically depressed. That is not our area, but working with people who are not there yet, we would refer them over to their GP. We would refer them over to specialists in that field. You are their youth worker, so you walk beside them. So every single one of these clients requires counselling. I'd like to hear from room 1, from Jacinta's room. What type of counselling would you think Jacinta would benefit from?
I think maybe an occupational therapist so that they can get her excited about, I guess, wanting to work again.
Yeah. What about a financial counsellor?
Yes.
Did you know there's financial counsellors?
No, was not aware of
Possibly a
that.
financial counsellor.
Yeah,
Possibly a financial counsellor.
Yeah. So OT, really good, getting excited and motivated, strength-based. Financial counsellor, financial well-being, part of our social, emotional, financial. What about grief and loss?
Oh, sorry, Vicky, can I also add there's a lot of small business counselling as well.
Perfect.
Grief and loss is very important too.
Yeah.
People
What
celebrate
did she lose, Diana?
Sorry?
What do you think Jacinta lost?
Lots of things.
Yeah,
So she lost the baby she built, and I can relate to
Yeah.
that. She built
Her
this
dream.
thing. It came from nothing, and she made it. And so she's lost that. She probably feels like she's lost a bit of dignity. She probably feels like she's failed, not only everyone around her but herself. So there's that loss. There's loss of identity. So she has to grieve who she was and that will lead to getting excited about who she will become now. But there's still that process of
It
What I
is.
was is now gone.
Yeah. Yep. Excellent. That's great. All right. Room 2 with Tony. What did Tony lose? What kind of counselling would you like Tony to have? Have a guess.
He needs rehabilitation first and foremost for.
He's already got that externally.
Oh, so you mean on top of what he's already got?
Yeah, what are we doing? What are we going to add into that? We already know it comes in and it says he's got speech therapist, rehab. There's a gap. We're going to help him fill that gap. Organisation, structure, the individual support model, amazing. SIL is supported independent living. That may be part of our role, youth worker, but you know, he still needs to be have orderly thinking, and so he needs to have an orderly environment as well. But what's Tony lost?
He's lost being integrated into the community.
Yeah.
He's lost where he belonged, which was his
Lost
footy
his
club.
tribe.
Yeah,
Mm.
his identity again.
Yeah.
Yeah, his dream and hope for being a rising Bronco star. Almost as good as Lockie.
Could we connect him with could we I'm not too sure about where the angles are here, but he could potentially become a mentor to others that go through the same
Yeah.
thing. I mean, he's still quite young now,
Yeah,
but could we connect him into a group where there are people going through what he's going through, but in a
Love that.
social kind of a setting rather
Yeah.
than a
right.
strictly rehabilitation
you-
setting? Does that make
Where
sense?
would you find that sort of thing, Vicky?
A lot of clubs have that. They have wellbeing officers. They have sports psychologists. They have rehab workers. They make them go to school. They have to do studies if they're young, if they're part of that emerging team coming through. The NRL themselves, so if the injury has happened in the game, they're insured.
Yeah.
That's all part of that. So your role as a youth worker is you have to go looking and finding out to save them doing that, to say, done a bit of background. None of these things may be any good, but I just wanted to put those options in front of you. Let's check them out together and find out which bit might be good. At the moment, we can't even get Tony to go and have a shower. So we're going to make today about that. And we're going to build on that. We're going to have a checklist. And we're going to, let's not go and do the grocery shopping today. It's a step too far. Read the room, read where your client's up to, what's the priority of need in this moment of time, but speak about it. Today is not the day for that. Today, I've made us a hot cuppa. You have 5 sugars, is that right? Did I remember that right? Yeah, Tony, good on you. So little things, people love that you remember those little things about them. Yeah, it used to be 7, but I've cut back. Okay, good on you, buddy.
Yeah.
So remember that, connect in a real way. Don't be the expert. They're not looking for that. You have that underpinning knowledge that goes with you wherever you go. Rest that and connect. Really be fully present for that person inside your guideline.
Yeah.
You're not their friend, you're friendly. You have a healthy professional boundary, but you're going to connect, and we connect by really getting to know our clients. And if they trust us, they will work with us. You could talk footy, you could throw the ball around. I love that, Katie. You know, I've played many a Xbox and have no clue what I'm doing. So, but young people like to teach you. They go, oh, that's not how you do it. I know handshakes that I never thought I was going to learn how to do and stuff like that. But they kind of like teaching you something as well. It's like, I got no clue about this. Don't be the expert and don't pretend you know if you don't know as well. You be human too, and that's your connection. That sounds tough. I heard Virginia just continue. That's, you're safe now. You're safe now. That soothing, calm, bringing back into that regulated space, even though it was a flow and it kind of looked easy. All of that was, it was textbook mental health response. That's good. So with Jacinta, I loved that you're thinking what's out in her community where she can connect on a social, emotional level, but also to bring her hope and healing. She'll either put a full stop at the end of her business idea, and then is that something you want to bring forward again? We could refurbish that. Is there another way we could bring that to life? Or, and how, if so, how long are you going to give it before you make that final decision and decide this may not be my business, this may be my art, my hobby? And there's other things in a career path we could do. I could definitely see her belonging to one of those programs, those business counselling, those hubs. The Centrelink will put someone through, if they're eligible, through a certificate 4 in small business or a certificate 3 in entrepreneurial. And that might be her step into that. From there, she may go, look, this is, I've given it 6 months. I've got a lot of other people smarter than me about business. It's going okay, but it's not enough to get me out of my family home and into a flat. What are the other goals? She loved her independence. That's a goal. Okay, so it's temporary living with your family. We need to have a look at setting another goal. Because even when someone's successful, they can feel quite depressed because they never set another goal beyond the one that they reached. It's like when people work all their lives and then they retire and then they don't know who they are and where they fit in because they haven't got another goal that they have set for themselves. All I want to do is retire when I turn whatever. I want to get and travel around Australia. They go around Australia in 17 days. And now what? I went around Australia, you know, but what did you want to do while you were traveling around Australia? You know, like it's something that you hear a lot of people do. There's a lot of caravans on the road. They even gave them an affectionate term, the grey nomads, as well. They even opened up in lots of community places, RV parks, as well. So it's like, and they're traveling with other people and that, but was that the goal? Is that what they thought it was going to be? Or did it evolve along the way where something great came out of that? So there's nothing wrong with going around Australia in 17 days. If that's what I did it, tick that one off. Now I have to set another goal. For some people, is I will mow my lawn at 4 o'clock every Friday afternoon, whether it needs it or not. It doesn't matter. It's routine, structure, rituals that help people feel this is my world is in order. I've got a sense of control over that. So with Tony, it could be about reconnecting, but it could be that laminated poster on the fridge. At 7 a.m. I do this, and at 8 I do that. That's a goal. Hey, look at this. Look where you're up to. This is amazing. Oh, let's buy the Tim Tams instead of our usual biscuits. Let's splurge this week. But it could be online. If the grocery trip is too big a deal, don't put them in a place where they feel unsafe. You know, let's do some online stuff, but let's go for a walk instead. And we'll jump in the car and go and do the drive and pick up. We'll get all of that. So there's a bit of interaction with the person that brings it out to the car rather than a delivery. So it's a small step, but it's a safer one than going full blown into it. Let's bring that back a little bit rather than be really in there trying to get Tony to feel like he has to go and do things normally when he's not feeling normal. Okay, that is CHCMHS001. 3 different clients, same approach and style, unconditional positive regard, active listening, positive body language, those open-ended questions that we want to be able to put in that space for them and gently ask, you know, what is it that would be the most important thing they'd like to do today? but you do need to get them out of something and achieve a small goal. With Tony, it was go and have a shower. With Ariana, it was use the wipes. And with Jacinta, it was, I think I will go and connect with that young Muslims women's group as well. Even not doing a home visit and giving her that opportunity to keep that in a professional setting and be around other professional people. She had been at uni. She was mixing with those people. So you're getting her out of her family home. And she's respectful towards her family as well. We didn't get any story or background around Ariana with her family, only the loss of her dogs. So her grief and loss counselling would be definitely where I would go there for her. It can be devastating for people. Not only was it the flood where she could have lost her own life, she lost all of her personal belongings and she lost her pets in a tragic way. And she's diagnosed with PTSD. So that takes its own time, where whatever she's triggered with, it will have, she will always have a psychological injury, but it won't last as long. It will, she may feel triggered and then be able to bring herself back into that space with ritual, routine, and structure. I'll just get those wipes that Virginia left behind for me. I'll feel better. I'll feel fresher. When she's showed me how to put a couple of drops of lavender on it, that made me lift my spirits a little bit. So the wet wipes now become another thing for her as well. It has that scent, another sensory thing attached to it where it's changing how she thinks of water. Okay, any questions? I'll hit pause there. Okay, so here we are back. We had gone into a breakout room. We had looked at the 3 client scenarios for this, and we had, for task 3, we had Jacinta, mental health, underlying issues for them. We had Tony, underlying issues for them, and we had Ariana and her underlying issues. We also unpacked what are the psychache, some of the language around mental health and the support and how we fit into that role, and how we make sure that we work with our client in a compassionate, mindful way, and meet them where they are and help them find that calm, safe space. Again, so we had a great role play that happened in real time, and we thank Virginia and Diana for that. But let's just wrap this up. It's our very last week. I also want to take you over to the observation checklist so that you know what it is we mark you on for role plays. So role plays are not everyone. I haven't heard anyone say I really love role plays, but I really love how people build their confidence by leaning into that space and doing them. So a holistic approach is looking at the whole person, and that's what we did when we went through. And it included some different strategies about that. We look at what are their stressors, family, work, stress, environment, childhood, emotions, and trauma. And then to find a well-being wheel in your groups, when you go into your WhatsApp group or the people that you're going to be doing your role plays with, find a well-being wheel, something that you can step off from so that it gives you some cues. Even beyond your assessment, think about what you are going to be like as a worker with someone who presents where they're experiencing some mental health disorders or a mental health issue in that space. And from this information, think about how you would approach a treatment plan for any of the client scenarios. Use the 3 from your assessment, but then use some reflection around that as well. So develop respectful relationships, good communication skills. It isn't only about your language, it's about your mood, how you present. It's about your body language, your non-verbals, and your role play goals are about your micro skills. Your message and how you deliver it, how you listen, and then how you interpret what is said. And if you're not sure, clarify if I got that right. And then just check in. Yep, that's right. If a client says you've got it completely wrong, that's a sign of trust. It means they felt comfortable enough to be able to say to you, no, you've got it completely wrong. Then come back with that and go, oh gosh, I've missed that. Help me understand what's happening for you. What would it look like if I'd actually got that right? Try and lean back into that space. Don't take it personally or shut down. Make sure that you get curious. Use that compassionate inquiry. Gabor Mate has some amazing work around compassionate inquiry, your body language, and using signs and gestures. Okay, your self-care, very important. How do you care for yourself? And what if we identify with that client's story? That's about making sure that it's safe for you. So we establish respect, trust, hope, and self-direction with our clients. Are we doing the same care and our own safe and self-reflection in that space? So tonight I demonstrated that by having Virginia do some reflection. And the person who played the client, Dana, and then I asked for some peer review as well. So just take that on board, go, I think I did this really well. I might have missed that. I think next time I jump into this space, I want to really think about that. When I'm in classes, I'm progressively assessing people as well. So if I look at a role play and I go, you know what, they're almost there. Even if I don't teach that learner, I will go and look at another role play and I go, no, they can demonstrate it there. I'll try and see them together and use that as an addition to it. But I cannot emphasize enough for you. You have to acknowledge who you are, the same as what we would. We have a working with children check in the workplace or a yellow card and NDIS, a vulnerable persons card. We must do the same when we step into this space for our role plays. I'll be doing this unit. Here is my ID, or my HADA student ID number is. Identify you, have your full name up on your Zoom screen, and have a simulated workplace environment. Set the scene. If you've got a blurred background, describe it. Look, I'm sitting in a room and it's got a beautiful garden in front of us. I've chosen that because plants give me a sense of calm, and I like to set my room up so my clients feel that way too. Just have that conversation in your role play. Set that scene in a simulated workplace environment. I'm a first access worker. I work with a team of 4. Paint that picture for the people who are looking at it. And what I have read about this client that is going to be my next appointment is that they present with this and then give the description around it, and then have your person come on the screen. If you're there with them face to face, have them walk into the room. But set that scene the way it is. You're the worker there. In front of me, I have a coffee table. I've got ambient water, like room temperature here. I've got a couple of things around as well. There's brochures on the wall and some resources in case I decide to do that. So what I want you to do this week, and as you're getting ready to do your research project, I spoke about that. And then I also want you to start getting ready. What are your local resources that you can say, look, in my postcode, we have this. And then what are some of those national helpline resources, so that the time that we're not with our client, in the meantime, what kind of support can they access themselves? Try and not think of it as us, think of it as client centric. What's the best service that I can provide this client? And when they leave here, how will they feel? What are they leaving thinking their next step is as well? have I given them a soft contract so that they're going to come back next week and they'll be able to say, I did this or I didn't do this, and what was happening for them that they couldn't. And so then that's more work. That's our body of work there as well. It isn't about just ticking boxes and getting everything out of the way. If the role play says you will do this and you will do that, and it gives you a lot of information, we go where the client allows us to go in that any given moment. I'm going to share with you also just some of those techniques where I mark you on, but before I do that, I just want to outline this. So just some basic communication strategies about eye contact, simple questions, and your answers should be easily understood. Be specific and direct. Check for understanding. What's comfortable and familiar for you could be brand new, first time ever heard by that person in front of you. Let them percolate on that. Use your body language to reinforce what you're saying. Your self-directed care and theirs work in a way that prioritizes them in their own recovery. It should be 60% them talking, 40% you. So what is self-determination? That means that the client is going to make those decisions. What would that look like? What would you like it to look like? What don't you want it to look like? Open-ended questions will help you with that. Compassionate inquiry. Self-directed care is where your patient's plan or your client's plan, personal and other services, we might refer them out, yet you're going there in the comfort of their own home. So that can be very helpful, and also referred to as self-managed care, their own goals. So that's all language, and you can go to one place and they'll have a completely different view around what they say. So you'll have a care program or a support plan. It may include some personal support services like what we heard with Ariana and Tony. And it could go down to, I'll make us a cuppa and wash up these dishes, and let's get some breakfast on while you go and have a shower. One-on-one support is supported independent living. We do that in youth work as well. Therapeutic services, it could be physiotherapy, which of course is what Tony already had. We need to be not involved in it, but we need to know enough about that. And whatever it is that you and Tony speak about, then that might be something that you could bring up with your physio. Have you talked to them about that? And they could be the one that helps them build their confidence around connecting back with their footy club, or I think Diana or Tony may have mentioned, sorry, I probably got that name wrong, about maybe doing a mentorship program. How do we look into that, which is of value? So services for existing caregivers, if they get carer fatigue, so much as family members, if they're working with a really difficult young person, everybody kind of needs a break from each other, but it needs to be well thought about. So if a young person goes away for a camp like Youth in Search or one of those programs, then we need to make sure that respite becomes part of that therapeutic plan. Don't rule it out. Have a think about that. Even Jacinta maybe getting away. So we look at the diversity and the differences, cultural and spiritual and sexual, how people identify, communicate to develop respectful relationship. Don't impose your own values or your world lens. Check that. Consider the client's own needs, their stage of life, where they're up to, even their development and ability to understand, and their strengths. So we might look at someone and someone else might go, oh, all they've got to do is that. But we may know something about our client where they are actually currently at their full potential. We need to recognize and acknowledge that with our clients. Everything will be okay if you get a job. Everything will not be okay. The job is not the solution to that problem. It's a resource, it's a means, but what's the actual goal? What is it that they really need? And then when they hit those times, if they're struggling with their mental health, there's some good things about work and some lousy things about work. What was it that we said work would give us, and how is that goal going? Always bring people back to their original why. That's how we become tolerant, or we can weigh it up. It's okay, well, it's 8 out of 10 things I want. It's not everything, but it's a big part of what I was hoping I would get, and accept that. Perfection it's an illusion. It doesn't exist. So support activities that you're going to provide, passing the ball, going for a walk, going out and picking up groceries, going to the movies, shooting hoops out the back, doing some gardening, cooking, all sorts of things where it's in that calm and centered space. And then reflect on what those needs are, and try different things. So set goals and activities that are individualized to their plan, and personal and other support being provided, communication strategies with not only our clients, but the people that care about them, their significant others, carers, and their families. We're often in that space as well. So we need to think about respectful relationships. We want it to be strength-based, and we do not want our clients to have that power imbalance where we're all knowing and they are not yet. Nor do we want our clients to build a codependent relationship. So make sure that we facilitate new learnings and skills. What was that like? And walk beside them while they're doing that. Lead by example and be a positive role model. And developing our clients' ability to also place a value in those things, and maybe want some of those things for themselves, give themselves permission to do some of those things. And at the very mindset, remain positive for your clients, because they draw strength from that. If they see you buckle, again, they'll take that as perhaps another psychological injury if they feel judged and unsafe as well again. So there's a lot of shame once someone shares their story as well. They can often be too embarrassed to come back and talk to us again, even though they may have got something good out of that session. So try not to fix everything in the first session or the second or the third. It's your client that's going to drive that. So it's their self-recovery, and we support them in that. You don't need me to talk and talk this. This is what I'll look for in your role plays. Okay. So we've covered that. I'd like to stop sharing. Just for a moment, I'm going to take you over and let you know how I mark a role play. Brilliant. We're back. I wanted to be able to show you this. Let me just pop that up and share my screen. This is actually our assessor observation checklist. So I spoke in the beginning about sometimes you see that your work is in progress. This is usually why we're just waiting to be able to finalise this one area. You don't see that in your area, but it's our assessor area. So with this one, there are 23 things that I look for in these role plays, but I wanted to just break down. I won't go through all of them, but I'll just let you know what this is like, so you don't get too caught up in I've got all these things I've got to remember. There's a flow that happens here, and we saw that in tonight's role play with Virginia, working with Ariana. But the first thing I would be signing off is around Jacinta. If I'm going through, you're going to be doing all three. So that is the checklist for Tony, checklist for Jacinta. But just for the purpose of this, let's do Ariana. And let's have a look at, I have my notes. I was able to do that, but the thing that I needed to see was during the role play, I observed the learner demonstrating this is what the assessor has to ask themselves while they're watching your recordings, and we play them back. Sometimes we play them back a few times. I observed them respond promptly and appropriately to Ariana's distress state. We definitely had that. The next one is ask Ariana if she has any alternative ideas to taking a shower or getting cleaned up. Communicate in a way that deepens and develops and maintains respect, hope, trust, and self-direction. They're your intentional interviewing questions. Support Ariana so that she can identify and prioritize the direction of her own recovery and collaboratively define goals with her. We got to freshening up, which she had been stuck before, and the support was there to be able to do that. And number 23 for Ariana is during the role play, I observed the learner demonstrating they identify strategies with Ariana so she can feel empowered and be in control of her recovery. Small steps, but that's what recovery is. It can be a few steps forward and a few steps back. So they're the things that I'm looking for with Ariana. There's all up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that I look for there as an assessor. I always go to my other notes with that as well. What do I need a sector worker to be able to do that? So because I do supervision with staff, I assess at a higher level in that space. But for anyone who is assessing your work, they're the things that they're looking for. It's a requirement. It's a national standard, your qualification. But it's the same thing. Let's go to the last one for Tony and see what it asks for. During the role play, I observed the learner demonstrating they documented interactions with Tony using the home visit case notes template. Have that with you. And that is definitely a resource. So I will need to see you doing that with Tony in your role play. So let me share that. Got a referral request form. I can show you. That'll be the one that I sent away. Let's go to another. So let's go to Jacinta's support plan. Still another document that sits there, but it's actually task. Task 3, but role play number 1. So I just wanted to show you here. Let's make that screen a bit bigger for you. Right, so with Jacinta's, you get a pre-filled support plan, but you need to know how to do a support plan. So services or treatment are needed beyond the scope. That means beyond the scope of your role. That means I might need to bring in some other providers. That's where our referral goes in. How long do you think you're going to work with them? 6 months and maybe 12 sessions. So that lets us know that we're going to see them twice a month, maybe every fortnight, or you might start once a week for an hour. And then you'll move over to for that month, and then you'll move over to fortnightly. So when we're in that session with someone, this may be very helpful for Jacinta. With Jacinta, we can work together. And part of this model that we do around our support is that you can have 12 sessions with us. And we can talk about what we would cover in those 12 sessions, but we need to do our entry, and then we need to be ready to do our exit so that the client feels that they're resilient enough to let go of you during that space as well. you'll bring in your initial date. When they first come in and take an assessment, you'll make your notes. I like to use dot point. And what's my next step? And then the date, and I sign off, put my initials in there. So these are what we refer to as 2 areas that we'd work with. So 2 goals. What might be one goal for Jacinta would be connecting with other women around her age in a social setting that respects her cultural or religious beliefs. And then the other one might be that we would refer Jacinta to counselling, perhaps, or financial counselling, or business counselling, or in a business hub, because business counselling sounds great because she's presenting flat, and the root cause around that is the grief and loss of her hope, her dream that she had for her business. So I think that was a really good suggestion come up there as well. But she had goals. They were working, and she's hit this space where a lot of people do. And then what might that look like beyond it? And then in the end of the 12 weeks, what would you like to have her have made a decision, be able to do for herself? We need to have a clear plan around that. Our client are the expert, and they will tell us what that looks like. But then we start working towards that plan. And what are the things that you will do? And then with your client, what are the things they will do? And if we work on resilience, then we don't do anything for a client that they can do for themselves. But we also don't get them to do anything that could be simple if they were well, but they're not traveling well at the moment, and we need to be able to walk beside them. So sometimes we're an advocate and we speak on their behalf as the first person, and sometimes we are their support worker and we walk beside them. And it depends. We step that up and down depending on what the client need is. But as you both get to work together, you get to know each other better as well. So if you've got that good relationship. So there's a referral form, a home visit form, and a consent form. So they're supporting documents around this unit. This is our last week, and we're going into a brand new unit next week. And I look forward to being able to catch up with you again. If you need something, reach out. If it's about units and you haven't got something in your portal that you can see, you need some help, then please go to lso@haiderinstitute.edu.au. Our amazing learner support officers there. There's a whole team. They're brilliant. And then if you've got some questions and you'd like to send me off an email, just put my name in front of it, just biki@haiderinstitute.edu.au, and I will get to it, and I welcome a reminder. I'm okay with that. So I work with Outlook when I'm not at Hayder, and if I've got emails, I just go down the list. With Gmail, it turns pages, so I only get 50 emails on a page, and if you get over 150 emails a day, I forget to turn the page and it might be sitting there. So email me if you haven't heard back in a couple of days. Please just chase me up. I welcome it, actually. So and I appreciate it, your patience around that as well. So we have set times dedicated for certain things in our roles. So classes set time, and I have got some evidence that I'm sending out for this group. And then I've also got some of you who would like to still catch up on that assessor-led role play. Please reach out. The best way is by email, or ask the learner support officers to assist you. And if they can't, they will send that back down to us in our training team as well. Hey, thanks everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Tuesday.